I became obsessed with this TV show called Smallville. I loved it so much. And that is so funny. It's like the catalyst. I was obsessed with this TV show. And then I was working at this job in sales. But I Googled where the lead actor, Tom Welling, went. And there was a branch in Los Angeles and in Toronto. So I signed up. So it became a bit of like a hobby that started. But then after a year of doing it, I almost got into this kind of like this car accident that had that cliche moment where you're like, oh my God, my life has flashed before my eyes. And I was like, I'm gonna give my notice. So I gave my notice at my job. And then I was like, I'm going to commit to trying to be an actor. I know it'll take like 10 years maybe before I get good. And then that's how it started. I mean, this is kind of like, I guess, weird backstory, but since I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, I say that it's a very transferable skill to go knocking on people's doors from a really early age to then having very little shame about asking for what you need. The way that I always looked at sales, like foundationally, was I'm here to solve a problem you don't know that you have. And in some ways, I actually think that that's very similar to what we do in acting. It's listening, right? It's like really just listening and figuring out like what you need and taking the attention off yourself. So the part of me that has to do the business stuff is one version of me, and then the part of me that wants to be an artist is a different part. I won't take it so personal if I can keep it separate, because I'm like sensitive and I'm deep feeling, and I think that's the thing is I felt so angry at this industry for a long time. I was like, I'm more than just a Latina. That was a big thing for me, which would make me rage. I'm like, why am I going out for so many escorts, or like always a martyr, or like always a widow? It actually really hurt my feelings. But then when we think about like the business of it, it flipped a little bit, because I was like, okay, so if I look how I look, then I'm here to tell a certain story, and it's my responsibility then to tell that story fairly. So then I will own it and embody this thing, but on my terms. If a story feels like it could be corrected to make it better, then I'll use my voice now. I feel like this has given me justification and power to speak up. I think the biggest obstacle I've always faced with acting is how much of this has to do with truth and authenticity and being seen. Yeah. So I think coming from a world where I was like hiding in some ways behind skills, like so much of this is just about being seen and sharing who you are. I also think it has to be fun. It's not all painful. I think that that's a big thing. You want to talk about the biggest shock to me in my system was that this doesn't have to be so painful all the time. This can be full of joy. It can be great. You can have your pain, but you can also enjoy this. It's allowed. Because if it's about us sitting here having a moment, it's not about me. Why am I sitting in my pain? What if I look over there and what's happening over there? Actually, that lights me up, and that's a joyous experience for me to be affected by somebody else. It means I'm alive, It's like a stupid meme or whatever, like a quote, but I love this. And it goes, energy is contagious. You're either affecting or you're infecting. And it's one of my favorites. And that's something it just kind of came a long, long time ago, and I think that applies to everything, everywhere. So I try to be conscious of that. I think that's really good. I think also relationships mean a lot no matter what the job is. So I think learning that in sales, how much relationships matter, I think they matter everywhere. I would focus on not just thinking about yourself and building relationships. I think that's really important. Put yourself out there and maybe ask someone to go for a coffee. You'd be surprised how kind people are and how much people want to help each other, especially other people in the same industry as you. I think people care more than they let on, So, I get moved by that because I think that if it wasn't for other people supporting me or helping me or offering me a hand, none of this would ever have happened. I feel thankful that I get to work. I feel really privileged that I get to be part of this industry and hopefully be part of the change that I'd like to see. But that came from people helping me. So I would say ask someone for a coffee. I try if someone asks me to go for a coffee or anything anyone asks me, I say yes because I believe in paying it forward always. I mean, with boundaries, but I do believe that like we will help each other.